Good afternoon, everyone. Today we will discuss about the urine formation. Okay, so how urine formation occurs in the human's body. So urine formation occurs basically 3 steps. That is urine formation occurs first one, filtration. Second one, reabsorption. And third one, secretion. This filtration process occurs in the glomerulus. Okay, so glomerulus, there is that Bowman's capsule are present. This glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, and the medium between these two parts, these 3 layers helps in the filtration of the urine. Okay, urine formation involves 3 main processes, namely glomerulus filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. That takes place in different parts of the nephron. So nephrons has so many different parts that involves in the formation of the urine. The first step in urine formation is filtration of the blood, which is carried out by the glomerulus and is called glomerulus filtration. On an average 1100 to 1200 ml of blood is filtrated by the kidney per minute, which constitute roughly 1/5 of the blood pumped out by each ventricle of the heart in a minute. Okay, so glomerulus filtration occurs first the blood, that is that the substances, wastage material and useful materials both are accumulated in the blood. The useful materials are absorbed by our body's tissue and the wastage material that is absorbed by the glomerulus. There is glomerulus is present that filtrate 1100 to 1200 milliliter of the blood per minute, and this is 1/5 of the blood that is the ventricle spread in our body. Okay, the glomerulus capillary blood pressure causes filtration of blood through 3 layers: the endothelium of glomerulus blood vessels, the epithelium of Bowman's capsule, and basement membrane between these 2 layers. You know that how the structures of the glomerulus. So cup like there is the Bowman's capsules are present. So this type of the structures are present, and here is glomerulus are present. So endothelium of the glomerulus vessels. Endothelium means the inner part. So inner part of the glomerulus vessel, and epithelium means outer part of the Bowman's capsule, and the basement membrane between these 2. Okay, so these 3 layers involved in the filtration process. The epithelial cells of the Bowman's capsule, called podocytes, arranged in intricate manner so as to leave so many minute spaces, filtration slits or seal spores. So Bowman's capsule, the epithelial cells are arranged in a manner that there is so many minute spores are present between, that is intercellular spaces are present, this type of the cells. This cells is known as the podocyte cell, and the pores that present between this cell, that is known as the cell pores. Okay, blood is filtered so finely this membrane, so all the constituent of the plasma except the protein pass into the lumen of the Bowman's capsule. Therefore, it is considered as the process of ultrafiltration. So the filtration that is occurred by the glomerulus is known by the ultrafiltration. Plasma membrane, that is mainly made by the protein and lipid. Plasma membrane hydrophobic, means it cannot passes the water, but the Bowman's capsule and glomerulus are hydrophilic. It only absorb. Philic means it attract, and phobic means it does not attract. Okay, so hydrophilic means it only absorb the water, not the protein part. So from the plasma membrane, all the wastage material that is accumulated with the water, that is passed into the glomerulus, but the no protein part is passes through the glomerulus membrane. Okay, the amount of the filtrate formed by the kidneys per minute is called glomerular filtration rate. GFR in the healthy individual approximately 15 ml per minute or 180 liter per day. Okay, glomerulus filtration rate means the glomerulus per minute how much urine it can filtrate, that is known as the GFR, and the GFR of the adult human, that is 125 milliliter per minute and 180 liter per day. Okay, so this is the GFR of an adult human. The kidneys have built-in mechanism for regulation of the glomerulus filtration rate. One such efficient mechanism is carried by the juxtaglomerulus apparatus. So, what is the full form of the JGA? That is juxtaglomerulus apparatus. That also helps in the mechanism of the filtration, GFR rate. JGA is a special sensitive region formed by the cellular modification in the distal convoluted tubule and the afferent arteriole, the location in their the distal convoluted tubule and afferent arteriole at that junction, and that is very a falling GFR can be activate the JG cell to release the renin, which can stimulate the glomerulus blood flow and thereby the GFR back to normal. So, this is GFR. The glomerulus filtration rate is maintained by the JG cell. The juxtaglomerulus apparatus contains juxtaglomerulus cell is secrete renin, which helps to maintain the filtration rate in the glomerulus. Okay, JGA is present. You know that Henle loop, the Bowman's capsule just looking like that, and there is the afferent, there is a Henle loop is present, and this is the, so this is proximal convoluted. So, if you can see the Bowman's capsule, this type of the structures, and from here the coil, that is the proximal convoluted tubule is present, then here is the Henle loop is present, and then that is distal convoluted tubule. Okay, so this distal convoluted tubule and the afferent arteriole is just like this. In this junction, the afferent arteriole and the distal convoluted tubule, there is this sensitive region that is known as the juxtaglomerulus apparatus is present. The juxtaglomerulus apparatus contains JG cells, which helps in the secretion of the renin in hormones that maintain the glomerulus filtration rate. A comparison of volume of filtrate formed per liter 180 liter per day with that of the urine release 1.5 liters suggests that nearly 99% of the filtrate has to be reabsorbed by the renal tubules. So, renal tubules also helps in the reabsorption of the 99%, 1.5 liters. Okay, this process is known as the reabsorption. So, glomerulus helps in the filtration, reabsorption helps by the renal tubules. The tubular epithelium cells in the different segment of the nephron performs either by active or passive mechanism. For example, substance like glucose, amino acid, Na plus etc. in the filtrate are reabsorbed actively, whereas nitrogenous OS are reabsorbed by the passive transport. So, the urea, that urine that contains nitrogen ion, potassium ion, sodium ion, glucose. So, sodium, potassium and ammonia, sodium and glucose, they are reabsorbed by the active, means directly, and passive, the nitrogenous waste are reabsorbed by the passive transport. Reabsorption of the water also occurs passively in the initial segments of the nephron. During the urine formation, the tubular cells secrete substance like H plus, K plus and ammonia, the filtrate. Tubular secretion is also helps an important step in the urine formation. It helps in the maintenance of the ionic and the acid balance of the body fluid. Actually, this tubular secretion helps in the maintenance of the ionic and acid balance in the urine. Function of the tubules. So many distal convoluted tubules, proximal tubules, renal tubules, all these tubules are present. Actually, mainly the functions of the tubules, that is the reabsorption and maintain the osmolarity, pH, all this in the urines. Okay. So, let us see what is the functions of the different tubules. First one, proximal convoluted tubule, PCT. What is the function of the PCT? PCT is lined by simple cuboidal brass epithelium. Cuboidal epithelium is present in the kidney. Okay. So, which increase the surface area of the reabsorption. Nearly all the essential nutrients, that is 70 to 80% of the electrolytes and water are reabsorbed by the segment. PCT also helps to maintain the pH and ionic balance of the body fluids by selective secretion of the hydrogen ion, ammonia and potassium ions into the filtrate and by the absorption of the HCO3 form minus. Okay. So, HCO3 minus and Na plus actually maintain the pH and ionic balance, maintain pH and ionic balance. That is the function of the PCT, maintain the pH and ionic balance and fluid secretion, the ions ammonium and potassium ion, and hydrogen H plus potassium K plus, this type of ions are reabsorbed by the PCT. Next, Henle's loop. Henle's loop reabsorption, this is reabsorption also occurs in this part. Reabsorption is the segment is minimum, very little. However, this region plays a significant role in the maintenance of high osmolarity of the interstitial fluid. Okay, Henle loop helps to maintain the osmolarity. To electrolysis, this concentration filtration is it moves down the ascending limb is impermeable to water but allows transport of electrolysis actively or passively. The concentrated filtered powder it gives the dilute due to the electrolytes and medullary fluid. Okay. So, you know that Henle's loop hairpin like structure, there is the ascending limb, there is the descending limb. Descending limb helps to hydrophilics, means it helps to reabsorption of the water, but this one is not hydrophilic, that is hydrophobic, that is ascending limb, that only transport the electrolytes. Okay. Distal convoluted tubule, what is the function of distal convoluted tubule? Conditional reabsorption of Na plus and water takes place in this segment. Okay. So, here is the proximal convoluted tubule helps in the potassium, ammonium, hydrogen. Distal convoluted tubule, these three plus sodium. Okay, sodium potassium reabsorption section is the distal convoluted tubule, and except the sodium, all these things also reabsorbed by the proximal convoluted tubule. DCT also capable of reabsorption of HCO3 minus hydrocarbon and selective ascending hydrogen and potassium ions and NH3 to maintain the pH and sodium potassium balance in the blood. Collecting dust, the long duct extends from the cortex of the kidney, the inner parts of the medulla. Large amounts of water could be reabsorbed from this region to produce a concentrated urine. This segment shows the passage of small amounts of urine into the medullary interstitium, keep up the osmolarity. It also plays a role in maintenance of pH and ionic balance by the selective secretion of H plus and K plus ion. So, collective that is they also maintain the reabsorption of the hydrogen and potassium ion. So, all these tubules mainly helps in the reabsorption sodium, potassium, hydrogen ion, maintain the electrolysis, reabsorption of the electrolysis and maintain the osmolarity. This is the functions of the different tubules. Mechanism of the concentration in the filtration. So, how the concentration gradient occurs, that is if there is the concentration gradient means difference, maybe some parts higher concentration, lower concentration, is this difference is present, then the pressure is come, then it is passes through one part to another part. How this concentration gradient is formed, this is the mechanism. So, let us see how the concentration gradient is formed. Animals have the ability to produce a concentrated urine. The Henle's loop and the vasa recta. So, Henle's loop and vasa recta helps in the maintaining the concentration gradient. The flow of filtrant in two leaves in the Henle's loop is an opposite direction and thus forms a counter current, and the flow of the blood through the two limbs of the vasa recta also in the counter current pattern. The proximity between the Henle's loop and the vasa recta as well as the counter current in them help in the maintaining and increasing the osmolarity towards the inner medullary interstitial. Okay. So, counter current mechanism helps in the mechanism maintaining and increasing osmolarity. Medullary region, not cortex region, that is 300 ml osmolarity per liter in the cortex, about 1200 osmolarity in the inner medulla. Okay. So, cortex region outer side lower, that is 300 ml, and the medullary region 1200 ml osmolarity. Okay. This gradient is mainly caused by the NaCl and urine. NaCl and urine thus maintain this concentration gradient. NaCl is transported by the ascending limb of the Henle's loop, which is exchanged with the descending limb of the vasa. So, NaCl passes through the ascending limbs and then passes to the descending limbs. Okay. And NaCl return to the interstitial by the ascending portion of the, then it is very back. And similarly, small amount of urea is thin segment is ascendingly Henle's loop, which is transported back to the interstitium by collecting tubule. The above described transport of the substance facilitated by special arrangement of the Henle's loop and vasa recta is called as the counter current mechanism. So counter current mechanism mainly produced by the Henle's loop and the vasa recta, and two main things, that is NaCl and urea, that is passes from the ascending leaf to the descending leaf and helps to maintain the concentration gradient. The mechanism helps to maintain a concentration gradient in the medullary interstitial presence. The such interstitial gradient helps the easy passage of the water from the collecting tubule, thereby concentrating the filtrate. Human kidneys can produce urine nearly 4 times concentrated than the initial phase. So, the filtrate that is occurred by the glomerulus, that is 4 times more concentrated when it is released through our body, okay, and this is occurred by the counter current mechanism. Now, regulation of kidney functions, you know that all these functions are totally maintained by our hypothalamus, and the specific portion of the hypothalamus have the specific function, reabsorption, medullary region, circulatory portion, that is also maintained by the hypothalamus. And which part of the hypothalamus is maintained? The kidney function. The functioning of kidney is efficiently monitored or regulated by the hormonal feedback mechanism involving by the hypothalamus, JGA, and certain extent the heart, okay. So, the hypothalamus region, juxtaglomerulus apparatus, and some part of the heart, they release the hormones, and these hormones maintain the functions of the kidney, okay. First, the hormone, which hormone is released by the hypothalamus? Osmoreceptor in the body are activated by change of the blood volume. When the blood volume is present, increase or decrease in your body, there is some receptors is present, they also send the signals to the brain, okay. So, body fluid volume and ionic concentration, an excessive loss of fluid from the body can activate the receptor which stimulate the hypothalamus. Body can activate the receptor hypothalamus to release the antidiuretic hormones, okay. So, when the body fluid increase, it receptors send signals to the hypothalamus, and hypothalamus receptor helps in the releasing of the ADH hormone or vasopressin, okay. These hormones is released by the hypothalamus. ADH is facilitated water reabsorption from the later parts of the tubule, thereby the preventing diuresis. In increasing the body fluid volume, switch off the osmoreceptors and suppress ADH release to complete the feedback. ADH can also affect the kidney function by the contractory effects on the blood vessel. This cause in increased blood pressure, and pressure in the blood pressure can increase the glomerulus blood flow or GFR. So, ADH or vasopressin, when released in the body, it increase the glomerulus filtration rate, that is the blood flows. Actually, first increase the blood flows. When the blood flows rate is increased, obviously the glomerulus filtration rate also increase, that is maintained by the ADH. It increase, not decrease. The JGA, now juxtaglomerulus, so hypothalamus secretes ADH. Juxtaglomerulus apparatus, you know that is secretes renin. The juxtaglomerulus apparatus complex regulatory role, a fall in glomerulus blood flow or glomerulus blood pressure or GFR, when the GFR that is also increased by the ADH, that is also maintained by the renin, and the renin which converts antigenosine in blood to anti-angiotensin, okay, angiotensin. So, antigenosine that is present in the blood, the renin it convert into the angiotensin, and the further angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 being a powerful vasoconstrictor increase the glomerulus, it is also increase the blood pressure, and if the blood pressure is increased, the glomerulus filtration rate is also increased, and thereby the GFR and angiotensin is also activates the adrenal cortex to release the aldosterone. Aldosterone causes reabsorption of Na plus and water from the distal parts of the tubule. This is also leads to increase in the blood pressure and GFR. This complex mechanism is generally known as the renin-angiotensin mechanism. Next, the increase in the blood flow to arteria heart can cause the release of arterial and natriuretic hormone and heart, and if the so first ADH is released by hypothalamus, JGA released, renin, and it helps to release the aldosterone, and then the last, that is the heart, it is release ANF and arteria natriuretic factor, it decrease the blood flows. If all these hormones increase the blood flows, continuously filtration rate all time in urine is formed, but how the blood supply the to the glomerulus. So the decreasing rate, the glomerulus filtration rate or blood pressure is decreased by the arterial natriuretic factors, that is released by the heart. Next, micturition. What is micturition? Micturition means actually the muscles that present in the urinary bladder, by the pressure of the muscles in the presence of the some factors, that the release of the urine from our body, this is known as the micturition. So urine formed by the nephron is ultimately carried to the urinary bladder, where it is stored for the some time, where it is stored till a voluntary signal given by the central nervous system. So when urine stored in the urinary bladder, this type of the signal sent to the central nervous system. This signal is initiated by the stretching of the urinary bladder as it gets filled with the urine. In response, the stretch receptors of the wall bladder send signals to the CNS. The CNS passes on the motor message to the initiated the concentration of the smooth muscle of the bladder and simultaneous relaxation of the urethral sphincter, causing the release of urine. The process of release of urine is called micturition. So when the urine stored in the urinary bladder, the receptor sends signal to the central nervous system, the wall, and then the central nervous system sends signal to the wall muscles, that is smooth muscles and sphincter muscles are present, and that helps to release the urine from the urinary bladder. The mechanism is cause it is known as micturition reflex. An adult human excretes an average 1 to 1.5 liters urine per day. So how many urine released from our body per day? 1 to 1.5 liter urine per day, that released by an adult human. The urine from the light yellow colored watery fluid, which is slightly acidic and has a characteristic odor. Because ammonia is present in urine, so that is some odor is present, bad smell. In the average 25 to 30 gram of urea is excreted per day. So 25 to 30 gram of urine is released per day. And various conditions can affect the characteristics of the urine. Analysis of urine helps in the clinical diagnosis many metabolic disorder as well as the malfunctioning of the kidney. So if there is some abnormalities occurs in your kidney or excretory system, that you can examine by the urine, okay, because that is the abnormalities also released by the urine. For example, presence of glucosuria or ketone bodies, ketonuria in urine are inactive of the diabetes mellitus. So when you examine your urine, there is glucose or ketone body is present, that is you have the sugar, that is diabetes mellitus, okay. Next, role of other organs in the excretion. Not only kidney, just only formation of the urine and other substances, that is sweated, sebum, all these also excretory products, CO2, how they are released from our body. So many another organs are involved in our excretory system. The other organs other than kidneys, lungs, liver, skin also helps in the elimination of the excretory wastage. So our lungs remove large amount of CO2, 80 liters per day. So how many CO2 is released from our body per day? 18 liters of CO2 is released per day, and also significant quantities of water also released by the lungs. Liver, the largest glands of our body. Bile, you know that is produced from our digested food. So bile containing substance, that is bilirubin, biliverdin, cholesterol, degraded steroid hormones, vitamins, drugs, most of these substances are ultimately passes out with the digestive wastage through the liver. Next, the sweat gland and sebaceous gland. So next, the sweat gland and sebaceous glands also release the wastage material, and the small amount of NaCl, urea, lactic acid also released through the sweat gland. The body surface, it also helps in the removal of some of the wastage mentioned above. Sebaceous gland eliminated certain substances like steroid, hydrocarbons, waxes through the sebum. This stereotype provides a proactive oily covering the skin. Now you know the small amount of nitrogenous waste eliminated through the saliva too, okay. Disorders of the excretory system, if there is some abnormalities occurs in our excretory system. Malfunctioning of kidney can lead to the accumulation of urea in blood and conditioning uremia. So when urea is mixed with the blood, this condition is known as the uremia, which is highly harmful and may lead to the kidney failure. Such patient urea can be removed by the process the hemodialysis. Dialysis means the artificial kidney that is release the excretory product day by day from our body. Blood drained from the convent artery, the pumped into the dialysis until the adding of the anticoagulant like the heparin. The unit contains the coiled cellophane tube surrounded by the fluid having some composition same the plasma except the nitrogenous waste. The porous cellophane membrane, the tube allows the passage of the molecule based on the concentration gradient. As the nitrogenous waste are absent in the dialysis fluid, the substance freely move out. So, when the dialysis occurs, there is another cellophane type paper is membrane is present, that is just same like the plasma membrane. Plasma membrane cannot passes through the nitrogenous waste, that's there is the exception the nitrogenous waste, just like the plasma membrane, all the waste can passes through this cellophane tube. Okay. Kidney transplantation is the ultimate method in the correction of the renal failure, kidney failure. The functioning kidney is used in the transplantation from a donor, preferably a close relative, to minimize its chances of rejection by the immune system of the host. Modern clinical procedures have increased the success rate of such complicated technique. So, the kidney, that is also just like the blood, when the donor donate you the blood, you should check the blood is matches the same just like the blood. Kidney, when the donor gives you, you should check the compatibility, it is matches your body or not. Okay. Renal caliculi stone, that is kidney stone. The stone or insoluble mass of crystallized salt are formed in the kidney. And glomerular nephrocytes, inflammation, there is some acquired inflammation occurs in the glomerulus. Okay. So, we have completed our excretory system. If you have any question, ask me, and just fast you prepare for your examination. Okay. Bye everyone, this is up to for the today.